Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on what time zone you're in. We have several hundred people registered for this webinar, so we're going to give it another minute for people to log in and we'll get started. 90 seconds or so. Thanks. Okay, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this webinar. My name is Pat Hills. I'm the Technical Marketing Director for Cancel. I'm really excited to be with you to host this webinar today for Trimble SiteVision. As you may have heard and seen on the web, this is a new product from Trimble that allows our clients, surveyors, engineers, planners to view 3D design data draped over a real-world environment, all with centimeter accuracy. So joining Cancel today and presenting for us is our guest, Jeff Blanton. He is Trimble's SiteVision product manager. Jeff has over 24 years of experience in the survey and GIS industry. He holds a bachelor's degree in construction management surveying from Northern Kentucky University, as well as an associate degree in surveying and advanced survey certificate from Cincinnati State. And he's been a part of Trimble's product management team since April 2015. So I'm going to hand this over to Jeff. For all attendees, there is a question section on your panel, on your webinar panel. Just as we go along here, just fire your questions in there. I'll make note of them, and I can either communicate these to Jeff while he's presenting, or we can leave them for the end. So, Jeff, I'll hand this over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pat. That was a good introduction, so I won't recap that. I'm excited to be here today to present Trimble SiteVision to you. Let me get on the agenda here. We already did the introductions. I'll go over a bit what is SiteVision, and I'll probably spend most of my time on the use cases. I'll discuss some of the file formats that SiteVision supports, and discuss resources. And if we have time at the end, I do have a couple videos that are a little longer than I would like to show, and as Pat mentioned, answer any questions that you might have. So with that, I'll just go ahead and get started. So Trimble SiteVision is one of our latest software hardware packages, a fairly exciting augmented reality system, or I should really say high accurate 3D augmented reality system. So first I'll just kind of go over what's some of the system components that SiteVision entails. So what you see here on the left side of your screen is the SiteVision hardware. It's this bracket with a built-in EDM in the unit and a DA1 catalyst antenna on top. With SiteVision, you get Trimble Catalyst precision, accuracy, and or RTX center point, the most accurate RTX. So if you're outside of a VRS Now network, you can use it automatically switches to RTX, and you won't have to worry about doing that. You will want to make note of the accuracy though when it switches to RTX. The other component is if you're outside of VRS and you don't want to use RTX, you can use your own local VRS network, which will just require your IP address or URL and username and password. Also, the SiteVision app, which you download from the Google Play Store. And what we've done is we paired the Catalyst, our GNSS knowledge at Trimble here, with the Google AR core, and this is what gives us that centimeter accuracy. One thing to note is it is a bring your own phone. Trimble does not offer a phone with this system, mostly because Google won't allow us to have the Google AR core in our devices. We don't sell enough like Samsung does. So you would need your own phone with Android 9 or above. So what is Trimble SiteVision? It's a platform for situational awareness. You can collaborate, visualize, communicate with all your stakeholders, anyone involved in your projects. It solves the problem of high accuracy positioning and the accuracy orientation. So this is where what sets us apart from the competitors in this space is we're able to lock down the Google AR core with the GNSS. It enables users to easily and accurately visualize your spatial data in a real world context. And it's all built on the Trimble Connect platform, which is our cloud platform. So as I mentioned, visualize. So you go out in the field at any stage of construction or work. You can visualize a conceptual drawing in a real world context with with the community, with your designers, with your engineers, anyone who's going to be working on that. They can conceptualize and understand what it is they're going to be building before they even start working, and highlight any problem areas like utilities, unwanted crossings that you might, in your design, you might be crossing an existing utility that you didn't intend to or you don't want to. Collaborate, so you can interact with the stakeholders in the field, or a better example is with community. You're building a new power line or you're putting a new road in somewhere, any kind of design, you can get the community engaged if they can visualize it. Most people can't understand a data set or a drawing and see that in the real world. With SiteVision, they're able to actually see it in the real world and understand how that's going to impact them moving forward. And then you can report on that. With the SiteVision has some built-in tools with using the camera. You can take photos. Those will go up to the cloud for the folks in the office. You can assign a due date, write a description of what you're seeing in the field or changes you might want to have made, or any problem areas. That's all stored automatically in the cloud, and then the folks back in the office can see that and make any necessary changes before you even get back in. We also, as I mentioned, the built-in EDM, the laser rangefinder. Essentially, you can take some shots within the data set in the real world or in the model itself and put some notes on that. Everything that's shot with the EDM is stored. Your XYZ is stored in a CSV file. The bearing, your orientation, where you took the shot from, is all stored in that CSV as well. So with that, I'll just jump right into some of the use cases. So how do we use this 3D data? See the future. And so here, I don't know how well this is coming across over the screen, but in this image, you can see this as a proposed new stairwell outside of this building here. In this area, there's some proposed, these are not actual towers, these are what you're viewing in SiteVision, this corridor of power line towers. So like I was saying, if you have your stakeholders out in the field with you, they can see where that's going to be. You can catch any conflicts before you start construction. See the boundaries. So in any cadastral surveys, you can bring your boundary work, view those on the ground, and get a good sense of where you need to be, or how the integrity of that data, actually, how well that data is that you've collected, or if you have existing data, how accurate that existing data already is. See the progress. at every stage of construction. Here you can see they've done the earthwork, or they're doing the earthwork. The road is overlaid over top of that. You can see the progress as they're moving forward and report on that. See what's underground. So you import your utility data, so any assets that you have. And here, SiteVision provides a pit view, which is real nice. So it allows you to see the underground utilities at the depth they're actually at, rather than you see in the background here where it's just laid on the ground. You turn on the pit view, you can actually see what's under there, how deep it is, and any crossings that might be crossing that. So utilities, I pretty much already went through this. So you see your underground infrastructure before breaking ground, which is a tremendous time saver, or avoid mistakes ahead of time. If you've ever been out in the field and hit a power line or fiber optics line, you know how expensive that can be to replace those. So if you can catch those things ahead of time, you're saving a lot of time and money moving forward. So here's a nice photo. We call 811, and they come out and they paint up the utilities. And we overlaid the existing utility data from a municipality here, and to verify what 811 has done. The paint marks, see how well that matches up from the existing data to what's painted actually in the field. Inspections. So this, so if you're part of a DOT or something and you want to go out and visualize the progress of your construction, you can give that to your inspectors. They can go inspect segments that have been completed, making sure the guardrails are in place where they're supposed to be, light poles are where they're supposed to be, the signage, make sure you're not missing any signs. Everything is laid out for billing purposes, so they can bill for each phase of the construction. Visualize the crossings if you're going to run across a power line that's going overhead that you hadn't collected in the original design. Find encroachments while you're walking the right-of-way fence. Someone might have built a shed there, or someone puts something in the easement that doesn't belong there. Catch those things ahead of time. Cadastral surveys. So as I mentioned, you go out and do a boundary survey somewhere, and you collected that data. You can again take that data out in the field with you, view that in a real world context to see how well your survey matches up what's actually in the real world. It can help find some monumentation if you have some control points out there. Maybe you haven't found those in a while, or they haven't been unburied in a number of years. You can load those into SiteVision, and they can help guide you to where those points might be.
Jeff, this I'll just interject here for a second, because you think you just answered the first question that came in, and that is, do I have to capture data using the Trimble device? This customer already has their own data captured. They want to drape it over the real world, and you've just answered that they can, if it's georeferenced, whether it's control points or any design or as-built information they've collected. That's the whole point, that we can then visualize that in the field.
Exactly. So if you have existing data, and we do support many different file types, it doesn't have to be collected with Trimble equipment, but it helps. You can use that data and then go out, create a model, and I'll touch on this in a little bit in a few more slides. Take that data, visualize it in the real world. Or if you have just a preliminary design, say you're using SketchUp or CAD, some kind of CAD format, you can use those designs as well. And then I'll get into the georeferencing here in a little bit. And then thematic maps. So there's a little video that's going to play while we're going here. So you can create surfaces, contour lines, and view those in the real world, and colorize them so that you can see where the differences are. SiteVision has this cross-section slider, so you can cut out pieces as you're walking. And there is another slider not shown on this screen, vertical slider. So the cross-section does it from where you're standing forward, and the vertical slider brings it from the end of the project back to you, so you can visualize that in the field. Natural resources, it kind of goes hand in hand with the utilities, but this is mostly above ground. I showed that photo earlier of the power line, the towers used for power lines, to visualize those in the field, show the community how that's going to affect them, what it's going to do aesthetically to their community, and they can give feedback on that. Compare existing infrastructure in the field. You can highlight, like I was saying, you can create the to-dos with the camera, any areas that might need repair, or for example, if you're doing a pipelines survey, so oil and gas pipeline, and you're going down the easement, you might be looking for slippage and slopes that you could report on. You have your surface out there if you want to have a surface with that, report on those slopes, because that's obviously going to be a danger to the community if that slope slips, the pipe breaks in half. These types of things you can look for as you're in the field. I have a customer who they do nothing but build wind turbines throughout the country, and one of the things that they're using SiteVision for, they place their wind turbines in their model, and they're using IFC files, and they take the SiteVision out in the field. They see where those wind turbines are placed in the wind farm, if you will, and how well they're spaced out and where the construction needs to be. It helps them with their designs. So I'll just quickly go into the supported file formats. As I mentioned, there's a number of formats that SiteVision uses. So the top row here, and I guess this is kind of yellow, these are Trimble formats, the VCL, TTM, T-maps, which you get out of Trimble Connect. You can create maps in Trimble Connect, SketchUp files, and the TRBs. These all come out of Trimble TBS or TBC or Connect. And then we have the open source data, the land XML, and the IFCs. We do on our website, we do have this nice little chart. So depending on what you're doing in the field, will help decide what file formats that you want to use. So if you're using all points, line, surface, and attributes, you're probably going to want to use a VCL file. And then down below for Esri or GIS formats, we use shapefiles and geodatabases. Those are automatically read. If you have a projection file with those will do auto place in the field, and I'll talk about auto place here in a couple, I think maybe the next slide. Revit files and DWG files. So there are a number, and we're adding more all the time. So no matter where your data comes from, it will need to go through the Connect platform. You upload, you create a project folder in Trimble Connect, you upload the file type into Connect. Connect does some assimilating. It usually takes, depending on the file size, a few seconds to a few minutes to assimilate. Once it's assimilated, you're ready to use this in SiteVision. You go out in the field and you choose load model, and it brings the model onto the device for you in the field. So as you can see, we support the SketchUp here, TBC, AutoCAD, IFC, Esri, even PNGs. PNGs are mostly used just for visual or just to overlay over a contour or something to help visualize that better in the field. TBC has, with the release of version 5.2, which I want to say was around Christmas time, they added an AR exporter in TBC. So say you're using a SketchUp file, you can bring that SketchUp file in there, and most SketchUp files don't have any kind of coordinates to them. The same with the IFC, they don't normally have coordinate system assigned to them. You can bring those in this TBC, assign coordinates to this, or do a site calibration. You can add some control points in there and do a site calibration within TBC. And using the AR exporter, it will export out 3 files, your JXL or a CAL file. It depends on the data set, which one it's exports out a TRB file and the VCL file. So adds a coordinate system, and what that does is it allows you to automatically place your model in the field. So that's a good segue to this. So model placement, which is the most accurate, is the auto placement. So if you've done your work with the data prep ahead of time in the office, you have a good coordinate system, you have it referenced, and you load that model into Trimble Connect. When you start SiteVision, it's going to automatically start initializing. And once it initializes, it's going to ask you to walk a certain distance to get the orientation of the camera. It's typically 10 meters. You'll walk 10 meters in a straight line. It will orient the camera, and then it will automatically place that data set that you have in SiteVision in the real world, right where it belongs. If you don't have that, you can go out and do a measured placement. It's kind of like a site calibration. I don't really like to call it a site calibration. It's really more of real-time georeferencing. So what you do is you load your model. You say you want to do a measure placement, and it will switch to 2D mode. It asks you what point you're standing on in the model. So if you have existing data, you could probably go stand on a manhole, a water valve, or a control point of some sort. Somehow take a shot on that point, and then it's going to ask you to move to a second point. You'll go to the second point. You'll say, I'm on this point in the model, and then it will take a shot again, and it will do the rotate and translate for you. And what that does is it creates a georeference file. It automatically stores that in the cloud for you, so you never have to do that measure placement again, unless it's slightly off and you want to go out and redo it. We do have a way to suspend it or reset it, so you can remove the original georeferencing and then redo it again.
Jeff, I think you're answering a couple of questions that have come up here as we go. So if I could just step in here for a second.
Absolutely.
One of the questions was, can you view in a local grid? And I think you've actually answered that by using the measured placement, right? So you can snap that to a local reference frame.
Exactly.
Okay.
Definitely.
And the next one is, what if there is no VRS? And that would lead you to the same sort of solution for placing it sort of manually.
So
part of that question was, can you use RTK if you don't have VRS? But I think we do the measured placement.
Yeah, we do not support RTK at this time. It's just going to be VRS, or if you don't have VRS, like I said, we'll automatically switch to the RTX. So if you're in RTX is covered pretty much globally at this point, except for the Northern Territories in Canada, which I recently found out. So it switches over to the RTX using the satellite. What's the word I'm looking for? Satellite correction. Sorry about that. But you can switch that to the IP correction. But you will have to have some kind of coverage so you can be on data or connected to the internet somehow. You have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
When you're
so RTX would be a whole other webinar for our listeners here.
Okay.
Something we can talk about if people want to connect with us. But I think the solution there would be a measured placement. Just physically constrain that model to your local site.
Absolutely. And I don't know that this is so much for this crowd, but with the measured placement, like I said, you can just do it. And then if you're in another area, say you just want to demo SiteVision, you could just remove that. And if you're somewhere else, you can just do another measure placement and place it. And what SiteVision does and the GNSS, it kind of calculates the vertical and where you're at, and it will adjust that for it won't match the terrain exactly where you're at if you're not on the actual job site, but it will match pretty well. And then we do have one other way to place a model, which is the least accurate way. And I don't really only recommend using that if you're indoors and you want to kind of just show something or quickly check something, is the manual placement. You can manually place your model, and it's about as good as you can eyeball it. You can, it will ask you to place it, ask you where you want to put it. And when it switches to 2D mode, you can move it around, and you can kind of line it up with things that are existing in the real world. But keep in mind, if you do a manual placement, it's not going to be nearly as accurate as the measured or the auto place. I am flying right through this, Pat, so if there are any other questions,
Yeah,
I'll be
we'll
happy
bring them
to.
up as they come along.
Okay. So essentially, the conclusion is the SiteVision is the high accurate outdoor mixed reality spatial data viewer. It helps users understand their 3D data in a real world context. And effectively, you can communicate your proposed designs or alternative designs to help facilitate a project development or promote public buy-in. A lot of times the public isn't so keen on whatever is going to be constructed. Maybe they don't necessarily understand how it's going to look or how it's going to impact them. With SiteVision, they can get a great feel of what that's going to look like and how it's going to change their community. Or if you have folks that aren't necessarily stakeholders who don't necessarily want to fund the project, and they can take a look at SiteVision, completely understand how this works, and then help get that buy-in that you need. And I think one of the key points here is it definitely helps with preventing costly mistakes ahead of time, and also making sure that every worker, stakeholder, foreman can visualize the project in a real world context and completely understand what they're doing before they even get started with the work. So like I said, I think we have plenty of time. Oh, sorry, I missed a slide here. So if you wanted more information, we have these two websites, sitevision.trimble.com and the geospatial.trimble.com SiteVision. Both of them contain pretty much all the same information, but what you can find under there is user guides, videos on use cases. There's full tutorial videos there. So what we've done is we made like 2-3 minute videos for every step of using SiteVision. We have a lot of data prep for Esri workflows, for CAD workflows, IFC workflows, all in these video tutorials to help you better prepare to use SiteVision. It's a great spot to get all the information that you need. There's also the facts of frequently asked questions there, and then there's a blog where you can actually ask questions or add in comments, things that you might like to see with SiteVision if you're using it. And then if you just Google SiteVision, you would be surprised by how many videos folks we had a early experience program for about 6 months. We had 40 customers around the world who were actually using SiteVision, kind of beta testing for us, providing feedback. They have a lot of videos that they put up on LinkedIn and YouTube and other areas. Great material to view if you have time or interest in knowing about those things. Okay, now the videos. Now these videos are, I think this first one's 3 minutes and the second one's 2 minutes, but I think we have enough time here. So I'll go ahead and start the first one. And what this, wasn't expecting that, sorry about that, is a proposed new power line. So what you can see here in the background is this is the easement. It's in the red, and they give them some depth so you can actually see where the power line easement is. These are the power poles and the lines coming through crossing this property. You can click on any of the data set if you want to get the attribute information on that. Over here on the right, you can see the layers. So if you have multiple layers, you can turn those layers on and off. And everything you're looking at here is all proposed. None of this is existing in the real world. And this is what it's going to look like when it's constructed. So you can see how your community or your stakeholders could actually visualize what this is actually going to look like. Those quick flashes are the camera. It's something they're great at taking a shot and creating to do back in the office. Here we're just kind of showing the accuracy of this. This is a stake where I think the guy wire is going to go, and it falls right on. Oh, this is the power pole, not the guy wire. Where that's going to be constructed. And then now this second one here, this one's a nice case where we had a customer whose kids' daycare, they were going to take away part of their playground and build a new road. You can kind of see that up here in the right. So what they did, they surveyed the area, they went out with the preliminary design, and they showed that to all the moms and dads at the daycare and the teachers, and they all could understand how this new road was going to impact the daycare, what part of the playground they were taking away, where they're going to build the new section, the playground for the kids, and whether or not is it too close to the playground. And I'm sure the parents had a lot of input. And while they're out there and they're holding the SiteVision, they're visualizing, they can actually see what's going on rather than having a paper drawing and look at it and say, I don't really understand this. If you're not in the geospatial world, you're most likely don't understand those types of drawings. And it's been my experience, a lot of people in the geospatial world don't completely understand that either, looking at a 2D drawing versus a 3D rendering. Well, this is playing, Pat. Are there any other questions that I could probably answer?
Sure, yeah, I can plow through these. So would it be possible to simply use a DWG file from a final project inside it and see as it is when you walk around on the road?
So yes, you can, but the DWG will have to go into Trimble Connect first. Connect has to do that assimilation to it, and I'm not a programmer, so I'm not 100% sure what all that is. It has to do that assimilation. Once that's done, you can take that out in the field. Most times, from my experience, CAD techs don't put coordinate systems in the CAD file, so you would probably want to do a measure placement in the field, and it will place that CAD file in the real world for you to visualize. You can walk around it, you can walk inside of it, all around it, and understand what's going on.
And how robust is the software in Trimble SiteVision? Would you be able to estimate a volume in a stockpile, for instance?
We're not to that point. That's a big request. You could do. You would still need to go out and do a survey of the stockpile and get that volume grade to surface. I think you kind of saw one in that thematic map, that stream. And you could see as it's growing or shrinking, but you couldn't get an actual volume from that. And when I say that, people who use things always find clever ways to do different things. So with the EDM, you could actually take some shots along that stockpile and get some. You can get a grade. Which I didn't mention. You can do cuts and fills on those maps. As long as you have a pole and a rod height, you can get cuts and fills on your surface. You could use the EDM to take some shots on the surface and or get grades. So you could come up with clever ways. I mean, it wouldn't be the best way to do it, but it's just, we're not there yet. But it's a requested item.
Few questions similar here. I'll group them together. So do you support Android tablets or only the phones? Do you have different size phones that can attach to this configuration?
So on that website, we have a number of recommended phones. Pretty much any Android phone that supports AR Core will work. The thing is, we have a number of phones that we've tested that we feel very confident about, and that work really well. And with those recommended phones, when you start SiteVision, it recognizes the phone, it auto-populates all the camera offsets. That's where you get into trouble. So if you're using a phone that's not recommended, you have to manually enter in all the offsets. And I'll tell you from experience, it's kind of a pain to do. You have a little ruler and you're measuring from the camera to the center, and then you have to get the antenna face center and a couple other measurements that you have to get. I mean, you can do it, and we have directions how to do that. But and then depending on the Android phone, so like the Galaxy, sorry, not the Galaxy, it is the Galaxy S10 Plus. It supports 10 million triangle pixels. So you can have a fairly large data set in that phone. Now, if you go down to maybe like a Google Pixel 2 or something like that, it only supports, like, I think, I could have my number wrong here, 1 million triangle pixels. So your performance is not going to be as good, or your files aren't going to be as good. As far as tablets, it's my understanding that the Google AR Core does not work in tablets yet. I believe Google is working on that. So right now it's, I want to say a 5-inch or up to 7-inch screen on a phone. But once you get beyond that, the Google AR core isn't supported, and so we're not supporting tablets as of yet. It wouldn't work.
Can you? Here's a good question here. Can you work in a disconnected environment in any capacity, or do you always have to be connected to the cloud or the network?
So no. So with the latest release, we pushed up to the Play Store maybe a month and a half ago. I should have added that in the slides here. I haven't caught up. We do have the ability, you can download now your model from the cloud on the device. And so if you're in a disconnected environment, you can still call up that model and view that in the real world.
Just one quick answer for this. I've had this question: who do I contact for more info on this? So start with your local Cancel office, and they can direct you to tech support or the professional to give you more information on it. So start with your salesperson or customer service person. Another question is, how is this easy to use? Is it hard to use? I don't want to pay big consultant fees to do this. My answer from Cancel is that we have a professional services team that one task of theirs is to provide proof of concept for different emerging technologies. So if you're unsure that this will suit your business, you can engage with Cancel to visit a project with your own data, and you can shadow Cancel, for a day or 4 hours. We do charge for that, but it's not like you'd be committing to purchase in a subscription. So one way to get your head around it and see if it's right for your business is to engage with Cancel, sort of short term. Here's one. What frame rate should be expected on the Android device? I'm not sure what that means.
Oh, I'm going to have to plead ignorance on that one myself. I haven't actually seen it. This is the first time I've had anyone ask that.
Okay, well, we'll park that question. We'll find out.
I think that what they're asking is how quickly it refreshes. In my experience, I haven't actually seen any lag in it at all. And I've been using a S10, S9, S8s. And then also, I kind of want to add a little bit to the last question, if you don't mind, Pat. On the SiteVision website, there is a dealer locator. So if you're unsure who your local distributor is, you can just go into the website there, punch in your area code or zip code or address, and it will show you a map of who your local distributor is. It's
okay.
Find that. And also, I'm sorry, let me. The application itself is extremely easy to use on SiteVision. You could probably be taught how to use it in an hour. It's the data prep side that's a little more challenging, getting your data prepared to go in the field. You need to pay a little bit more attention to.
Okay, so to confirm, this will work with Trimble construction site calibrations, for example, machine control, SCS products, and is all in-house in TBC in one place. Is that correct?
That's right. So pretty much any of the Trimble portfolio, with the new X7, Trimble Access or SC900, you got collect data, bring that in TBC. TBC actually did a power hour this morning. I don't know if anyone attended that, where they actually walked through those workflows of how to create surfaces and visualize that. There's a utility tab in TBC that they use and created some of the utilities that they surveyed as well. So if you haven't seen that, look that up. I watched it this morning. It was a pretty good webinar on how to incorporate your data with TBC into SiteVision.
Okay. So will polygons from Esri format be added to the supported formats, and also the SKP, I suppose, SketchUp formats be added? SketchUp 2019 or 2020?
Yes, they should already be added. for SketchUp and Esri. And something I also is also very new, and I apologize, I should have had that in one of my slides. We do have it originally when SiteVision came out in November 2019, when you used Esri data sets as shapefiles or geodatabases, it just automatically chose your line colors and line styles, point styles, and things like that, which is really annoying. But we've now added a visualization manager, so you can go into that manager and select your features and your attributes and choose your line styles and point styles. It's a pretty slick little tool to design your how things are going to be viewed. So you saw those on those videos, the different colors and how they gave depth to that easement. It kind of looked like a wall. Typically, the boundary line is just flat on the surface, but they gave it some depth. So with the visual manager, you can do that, and it's a free download with SiteVision.
Okay. Does this use GPS only, or would it include other constellations?
GPS and GLONASS, Galileo. Yeah, there are a few supported constellations.
Can you use a Navisworks model?
I'm not sure what a Navisworks model is. I don't know. Can you help me with that one?
Yeah, I'm sure from Navisworks we could export DWG. Yeah, we can park that question.
If you can export a DWG or some other format that is supported, you should be able to use it in SiteVision. I'm just not familiar with that one.
So have you done anything with the Matterport camera, Jeff? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, but it's basically it's like a scanner, but it's overlapping photographs. Looks like a form factor, looks like a scanner, but it's overlapping photographs. So I suppose what they're getting at is taking the cloud data from a Matterport survey, if you will. I'm trying to guess what the question is here. Matterport camera.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that camera, so my short answer is going to be no. Be interested to hear more about that though.
Okay, stand by here, a couple more questions. Can survey layout be performed with this?
As a surveyor, I definitely would not do layout with this. It's great to visualize your as-built or before construction or confirm once you've done the staking in the field to visualize that the staking was or all your hubs and lath are in the right spot. But I would not go out and try and stake with this. I know we have the accuracy, but you wouldn't get the pinpoint, like say in Trimble Access, to get it down to that millimeter level of staking. If you wanted to give it to that, you couldn't get that with SiteVision.
Right. So here's someone who's thinking ahead. Can SiteVision be added to the SX10 camera? See where they're getting with that. It's all imaging, but yeah, I'll let you address that.
I don't know that we've even thought of that. I think that's a fantastic idea, and I'm definitely interested in hearing more about that, or even thinking about how that would work. I think it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Can multiple pictures from SiteVision be able to be brought back in TBC as a V10 photo point?
So I would say yes. You could definitely, whatever photos that you take with SiteVision that are in there stored on the cloud, you can bring those down from the cloud and bring those into TBC. Mm-hmm. And then you can georeference those as well once in there to visualize that in the field.
Are there any software limitations in terms of the model complexity, in brackets triangle count?
Yeah, that's where I was saying, like the new Galaxy S10 Plus that supports 10 million, and I believe that is the most of any phone. And I might be wrong. I think it may be even a little more. I know it's at least 10 million. So depending on the device that you're using, it will depend on how much complexity you can have in your model.
And I can't believe it took so long to get this next question. Any plans for iOS compatibility?
Yeah, that's usually number one question. We're definitely looking into that. And as I always say, Android or Google's really easy to work with when we're creating the APKs that you use. Apple's a little more challenging. So we do have a team of folks working to see what we can do to support iOS. There is no time frame on it though. I keep getting in trouble for saying that.
Okay, I think we're almost through it here. Let me just do one last check. Oh, someone said it looks awesome. That's good. I think that's it for questions. Thanks very much to all the attendees. You can also use me as a contact. So Pat Hills, pat.hills, very simple, HILLS at cancel.ca, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And I can direct you within Cancel to get you the answers you need or access to the product or demonstrations. Keep an eye on our website for the whereabouts of Cancel and our webinars and conferences. I've got the product here today at the Ontario Land Surveyors AGM in Huntsville. We've got a couple dozen of these around the country that we have in use all the time. So I suppose if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank Jeff for joining us here today, and for all the attendees. Any questions, let us know. And there will be once we close out the session here, you will be getting a link to the recording. That was another question, so you can play this over for your colleagues later. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me today.
All right. Bye-bye.